Unleash the power of knowledge and connect with the heartbeat of the African diaspora. Download our African Diaspora News Channel app now on Google Play and Apple App Store. Stay informed with authentic and diverse perspectives, breaking news, and cultural insights. Immerse yourself in a community that celebrates unity, resilience, and progress. Experience the vibrancy of the diaspora at your fingertips. Don't miss out. Empower your perspective today. Search African Diaspora News Channel and join the conversation.
The Chinese are not one to play with. They are very strict with their laws. 4 Canadians were executed in China. Not just arrested, but executed. The Chinese government confirmed that earlier this year, 4 Canadians were sentenced to death and executed over drug-related charges. And here's the thing. Canada had been fighting behind the scenes to stop this from happening. Canada's Foreign Minister Melanie Joly and even former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had been pushing for clemency, but China didn't budge. And before you think, well, they broke the law, so they got what was coming. Let's talk about that, right? China has some of the strictest drug laws in the world. And while they do impose the death penalty for serious crimes, including drugs, corruption, and espionage, it's extremely rare for them to actually execute foreigners. So why now? Why these 4 Canadians?
Beijing has defended its decision to execute 4 Canadian citizens on drug-related charges, arguing that they treat defendants equally, regardless of their nationality. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said earlier Thursday that Canada should stop interfering in China's judicial sovereignty. Now, it's not the first time this happens to Canadian citizens, but it's particularly Chinese-born Canadians who are at risk, as Beijing does not recognize dual citizenship. The 4 people who were killed this year were dual citizens, as were the 2.
And why is this happening at a time when relations between China and Canada are very icy? Let's not forget Canada and China have been locked in a quiet but intense diplomatic war for years. Back in 2018, Canada arrested a top Chinese telecom executive, Meng Wanzhou, on an extradition request from the US. In response, China arrested 2 Canadians, holding them for over 1,000 days. And fast forward to now, Canada has placed tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, steel, aluminum, and other things. China hit back with its own restrictions on Canadian food imports. And in the middle of all of this, 4 Canadians are executed. Is this a coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. Now, the crazy part is that these 4 Canadians have dual citizenship. One with Canada and guess what? The other with China. However, because the Chinese government doesn't recognize dual citizenship, they tag them Canadian citizens. They don't recognize them as Chinese. Now, Canada, of course, is outraged at the execution of their citizens. Amnesty International in Canada called the execution inhumane and shocking. But at the same time, China is standing firm. What's their message? Respect our judicial sovereignty. Now, I know some of you are probably wondering, okay, but why does this concern our community? Now, the Black community, the African community, well, let me tell you why. We know how the world treats us when we travel. We know that when it comes to harsh punishments, Black people, African people, they're often the first to suffer. There are Africans currently sitting on death row in China, in the Middle East, in countries all over the world. Many of them for things that wouldn't even get a life sentence in other countries. But who fights for them? Who stands up for their rights when foreign governments actually crack down? This story isn't just about Canada and China. It's about what happens when governments decide certain people's lives don't matter. Remember the story of the 18-year-old Black boy arrested in Dubai last year. I covered that story. If you've not seen that particular story, just search for it on our YouTube channel and you see exactly what I'm talking about. It was sad. And if China is willing to execute those people, what do you think will happen to our people? What do you think will happen to people from Africa, from the Caribbean? The key takeaway here is to always respect the laws of any country that you're traveling or relocating to. Take time to research and understand their legal framework. ensure that you comply with their regulations to avoid complications. What are your thoughts about this? Leave a comment. My name is Ify Igwe reporting from Nigeria's The African Diaspora News Channel. Don't forget to